Hello and welcome to Reed Pop's Metaverse event, where we're breaking the fourth wall to bring convention and entertainment to the comfort of your home. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, and it is my extreme pleasure to bring to you Star Trek Picard. But before we get started, I want to make sure you, the fans, are getting the most out of this experience and the many others happening this weekend by scooping up exclusive virtual meet and greets, autographs, and photo ops. Visit www.findthemetaverse.com and add the spoils of this virtual event to your collection. Now, without any further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to this virtual stage. Let's make some noise for Miss Isa Briones. We have Evan Evagora and, of course, Michelle Hurd. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you guys doing today?
So good to be with you guys.
Really good.
Happy.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen these faces in a long time, so I'm excited to see everyone.
I think we're all missing everything that is about you guys. Obviously, with the 2020 being what it is, how are you guys staying safe and sane wherever you are in the world?
I've been doing a lot of baking. I just learned how to make vegan scones.
Okay.
Which is a lot harder than I actually thought it'd be. Yeah.
Favorite recipe that you found? Where can we find that? Like, we want to be in the same vein you are.
Well, when we actually all went to Italy, I've been remaking that pasta. Do we all remember that? So
Yes.
yeah, hand making pasta and stuff. Yeah,
Nice.
with the tomato dish. How good!
Okay,
I've
based
been
on their
getting a bit fat, I
reaction,
think.
I'm feeling jealous, and I have definitely missed out on something. So next time, I'm gonna need a plate. I'm just need a plate. That's all I'm asking.
That's right.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask for an invite.
No. I'll just take a plate. I don't want to intrude. To-go
That's
cup or
easy.
something like that. That's all I need. Isa, how about you?
I've been keeping busy trying to stay creative, been painting a lot, been
That's fantastic.
just also hanging out with my family a lot. That's the way to stay sane. We're actually on a little bit of a vacation where we got an Airbnb in Palm Springs, so we're kind of getting away from the city a little bit.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Michelle?
I've been trying to just stay sane. Not sure if it's working. I'm doing my very best. I'm on a lot of boards and committees, so I've been spending most of my time in front of a Zoom, in the computer, so that's driving me crazy. But Evan, I've been doing the same thing, and I have just baked or made my very own first vegan shepherd's pie.
Oh.
With honey, you guys, I'm gonna make it for you guys because it's ridiculous. It's made, with the Beyond Meat, meat.
Yeah.
Instead of
Beyond Meat, yeah.
Instead of mashed potatoes, I'm using sweet potatoes. So it's even more like, ooh.
See, I wish I was over there. I'd be driving over to yours straight away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just need a plate. Like, just a plate. That's all I'm saying. Not a total invite. Just a spoonful, a cup of some sort.
Absolutely.
So obviously we're brought together by the show Picard. And as a Trekkie myself, it's a huge event to see something that is so very similar to the show, but so very different from the series has ever been. How were you guys first introduced to the Star Trek universe? What is your Star Trek?
These guys know this very well, but my introduction into Star Trek universe was when I was a child. I'm a mixie kid, a little black and white child right here. And my father really wanted to make sure, this beautiful black man really wanted to make sure that the entertainment that we watched in our house would be inclusive and show his daughters, the three girls, that they were part of this world, of the world that we live in, and as well as the imagination of a world, right? And Star Trek was one of the only shows that my father would encourage us all to sit down as a family and watch and discuss and experience the stories of people being, the inclusion, the exclusion, the tourisms, all of that stuff. So Star Trek means a lot to me because it reminds me of my family. So I'm so thankful and honored to be part of this one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Evan?
So my mum was a big sci-fi and fantasy fan before I think it even hit mainstream or was considered cool. I actually remember growing up, and I think around age 4 or 5, I remember my sisters kind of making fun of my mum for liking sci-fi a lot.
What?
So I'd have to say they're completely of a different opinion now. But yeah, I grew up with it, just watching it on the television and, those old VHS tapes of the Star Trek movies. So that's pretty much where my, I don't know, I'd say education for it all began. And then we all got to be on the show. So that's like, like a second kind of like love. I loved it as a fan, and now I guess I love it as an actor as well,
That's fantastic. Isa, what about you?
I'm embarrassed to say I did not know nearly enough about Star Trek before I joined the universe, but it very quickly changed once we started working on it, and I started trying to educate myself, going back, watching TNG, watching various things that I knew would help me. I quickly became a bigger fan than I ever thought I was going to be, because then we were filming episode 7 and I was on set with Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis, and then Michael Dorn came to visit and Hurd, and I like flipped out. And that was when I realized, like, oh, this has become such a big part of my life and I'm fangirling.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to, getting a role like this, it's obviously a part of a major franchise. Was there a sense of intimidation when you even auditioned for it? Yeah, I was gonna say, anybody jump in on that one. Who wants to admit it first?
Yes. I mean, when I saw, they're very secretive about what you're auditioning for at first. But I think I found out that it was Star Trek after like my first callback. And that's when things were like, oh, okay, this is a little more intense than I thought it was. As an actor, you try to like separate yourself from the auditions, try not to get too invested. But then definitely finding out that it was Patrick Stewart, that was like, all right, I'm gonna try not to freak out too much.
Right.
But it also just, since I didn't know much about it, then like doing the minimal research I could made me realize very quickly that this was something so important that like needed to be told right now with this captain and with this beautiful cast.
Right. Oh, well said. Well said. Michelle?
Yeah, I had gotten, as Isa said, they don't tell you that you're auditioning for Star Trek. They have a strange name. I think it was called Drawing Room or something like that. And I was in New York, and I had an email of a next day self-tape for an 11-page scene. And I was like, please, I'm on my couch. I'm already into some TV show right now that I'm watching. I'm not gonna do that. I can't even pull it together. And then I thought, well, why don't I just be a little bit more of a proactive actor and read a bit more of what this audition is for. And I got to the produce the character description, and the character breakdown was so good. It was just so well. It was just so broad and bigger and yet more defined than any other character I've ever had an opportunity to bring to life. And that got me excited. And then I looked at the producers and the writers, and all of a sudden you're like, Michael Chabon, Alex Kurtzman, Patrick Stewart. Hold up.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I think 1 + 1 does equal 2. I need to pull it together and do a self-tape. So that was my experience. What about you?
Right. Mine was a bit different. I think for me, in kind of like the final hour, so I've been told, I was the same as Michelle. Bunch of pages with the name Drawing Room, but I got told it was for Picard. The only difference I'd say is I went up the audition room, like I went in Australia. I left there thinking that I've not got that. Like, I've done a terrible job. It's the worst thing in the world. I might as well just give up on everything. And then I think I found out about like 3 days later that I was on hold, and I'm still. It's weird to say. I still kind of can't believe that I'm in the show or that I'm like a part of any of this. It does still surprise me, like in a lot of ways. Like, oh wow, I'm actually on this thing. Like I grew up loving, and it's I just feel like someone's gonna like call me up and be like, it's not real. This has been a joke the entire time.
It's actually now Star Wars, and this was all just an illusion. Yeah. That's what it is.
Gotcha.
They got me good.
Oh, man. Now, this is actually like kind of much more of a physical show for you to be on than almost any other iteration of Star Trek that we've ever seen. How did that kind of, inspire you and your character building, knowing how physical things were going to be?
I mean, it was pretty fun. We had a good like a good team behind us, training us in, you know, a lot of the stunts and stuff. And I kind of enjoyed the physicality, and even going back on some of the episodes, especially with Jerry Ryan and myself in the ball cube kicking ass. It was pretty fun, you know, all aspects of the show, and doing, you know, even if it's just rocking up to work and saying hi to everyone in the makeup trailer, or heading to set on the van with everyone. Everything about the show is fun. There's not, I think, one bad aspect. I don't think I have one bad word to say about, you know, working on the show at all.
That's awesome.
True.
Very glad to hear that. Michelle?
Well, Raffi she doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of physical stuff, at least this last one.
She looks ready though. She looks ready.
I'm not gonna lie, she's ready. Don't test her. Don't test her. She'll respond in kind. Yeah, no, I think she's ready for all that stuff. She is a security and spy kind of thing. So she's got skills. But honestly, like what Evan just said, you know, I have to say, to be in this time period right now that we're all experiencing, which is really, you know, really challenging. We have some really challenging days, and the future looks is so unknown to us. What's our new normal? And I will let you guys know that when sometimes we do these little Zooms with our group. We had a surprise birthday party for Patrick Stewart, which, by the way, he would enjoy being referred to as Peace Stew, just so that, you know,
wow.
you know. But to be in the room with our producers and having them being so compassionate and empathetic and aware of what we're all going through is kind of an unexpected gift that I did not know came with this job. So, you know, I know this isn't answering the physical stuff, but this is part of understanding this group of people that we're working with that are so woke, if I could say.
Yeah.
So inclusive, and it just makes every day a gift. As Evan said, there's not one bad thing, not one bad apple, not one.
That's
top
fantastic.
Top to bottom.
That is absolutely fantastic.
You were doing some serious.
Yes.
Stuff.
I think what's so cool about this show in particular is that, you know, definitely when the trailer came out, people were a little skeptical because they saw so much action in it. They were like, "Ooh, this doesn't look like the Star Trek that we know." But I think what they do so perfectly is bringing in these really exciting moments, but still keeping the heart of Star Trek so true to what it has always been. And then on top of that, then like I'm also just excited. It always excites me to see like badass women like kicking ass.
Yes.
And it's really cool to be a part of that now.
Like twice over too, because obviously playing two separate characters, that's got to be its own level of you know, achievement for you, not only in your career but in that aspect of, you know, badass women times two. That's you. Tell me,
Three
well, that's
characters.
true. That is three. That's true.
Yeah, Michelle.
That is very true.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to that as now the new icons, how do you guys feel about representing in that capacity? I mean, people of color are going to see this, multiple genders are going to see this. Like, how does that feel? Do you feel a responsibility or weight being a part of that?
Well,
The more the better.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the better. No, honey, I'm jumping because the three people you have here not only are people of color, but we're all mixies.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and it's you know, I'm so proud of that. I'm so glad that we can represent like people who really haven't been given a voice and are just sort of like the secret, you know, people who just sort of are showing up now and, you know, haven't had a platform. And again, you know, that's a testament to Star Trek. You know, it's a testament to them looking outside of the norms and reaching out to different corners, you know, to like, you know, as Evan said, he was in Australia, and, you know, we're all doing different things. And, you know, they were looking for something that would represent a wider swath of people. And, you know, I applaud them for that. And I take it very seriously. I've always taken every job that I've accepted or even sought very conscious of the fact that I'm a woman of color. And I really wanted to make sure that any woman of color, especially the young kids growing up who they don't have this kind of a visual, they haven't seen this, that they could see that they're not only are they here, but they're strong and they're valued, and that they, you know, carry a weight with them and a presence. And you know, I have to say, I've been around for a while, y'all. One of my favorite things is to be in the room right now with Evan and Isa, and to experience and witness their growth and their outreach and their talent that they are utilizing in such a profound way that I don't even know if they realize. And I'm humbled and so glad that Star Trek looked and found these creatures that are right here.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's so very well
Thank
said.
you,
Like,
yeah.
I might tear up a little bit on that one. Evan, you want to chime in on that?
I mean, I think Michelle said it really well. It is about representation. Like I said before, the more the better. But Star Trek's always been at the forefront of it. Every iteration of it, they always have a diverse cast. It's always inclusive. And you know what, rocking up on the first day of set and having because I was on episode 3, but having witnessed already the kind of like mindset of everyone, it being like an ensemble cast, everyone's treated equally, and it starts at the top of pea stew, as Michelle always says, and it benefits everyone. And I think the more kind of like workplaces and the more shows that are like that, the better off people are going to be, because people see through that now. I feel like if there's a bad crew or a bad cast or something like that, it's shown in interviews and stuff that they don't get along well. And you know, it can affect it affects the viewer's mindset. We need we need continual positivity, and I think our show's a good example of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Isa?
Yeah, I think we always think about the little kid in us who is watching the show right now and is seeing themselves, and seeing, not just because seeing you physically is really big, but also seeing your experience. And somehow, even in a sci-fi show, we are still representing these real world experiences. And I always, for me personally, really connected to my character being like balancing the human and synthetic side of her. And that is so much of what, like, being mixed as we all are in this show, like that.
Yeah.
That's such a big journey for all of us. And it's so cool that I get to attack that struggle, but like in a different kind of way, and in a brand new lens. And still some little mixed girl can be like, that's me, and I can do that.
I love it. Oh my God, that's so very important. Not just for today, but literally for building a better tomorrow. In addition to that, as you were starting, Isa, how much like Soji are you? Like, is there personality things that you're like 100% that's me? Or is I believe that. I believe that. Listen, I want no smoke. I want no smoke whatsoever. But yeah, in terms of personality wise, how are you similar? How are you different?
I mean, I think we all, as actors, we have to find our similarities and our differences to every character that we play. And it's really fun when you get to play a character that's very different from you, because that's like such a fun exercise of like stretching your muscles and finding new parts of yourself. But it's also really, really exciting when you get to play someone who is so much like you, because you get to examine your own emotions, your own mind, your own life through someone else's eyes, and it's definitely, I think, beneficial. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. But I also need to first like really settle into Soji and be in a character that I connected with so much, and then play Sutra, who feels quite different, but still like you surprise yourself with like, oh, I'm not as different from her as I thought. Like you find those little parts of you in all these different characters. So I really kind of lucked out with having these really exciting different moments to have.
Oh, that's brilliant. Michelle?
What was the question? Sorry.
How much like Raffi are you? In any major way, small way? How are you similar? How are you different?
Yeah, I mean, I think as Isa said, you know, as an actor, you know, we do pull from our life experience, which is, you know, what we should all do, right? We are affected by the world, about the environment, about everything that happens. So we all have some of these different aspects in us. I really love the imperfectness of Raffi. I really do, because we're all imperfect. There's, you know, if someone's like, I am done, I have completed my journey and this is it, you know, I mean, that would just be terrible and boring, right? You want to have more excitement and I want to learn and I want to grow. And what I really loved about Raffi is that, you know, I may not necessarily have had an addiction, that type of an addiction, but for sure I could pull upon addictions that I've had, whether it be, you know, working out too much, you know, as a young woman having eating disorders, you know, being dyslexic, you know, so many different things that have made me feel I had to battle something within myself. And I think if we all don't recognize something like that in ourselves, we absolutely recognize it in somebody else. And I thought that was a really important story to tell. I love what happens between her and her son, because I thought that was also really important, that just because you're the person who's been, you know, battling her addiction feels like she's okay and she reaches out to her child who she's abandoned for a decade, that child has the right to say, no, you need to do more work. You don't get to just come into my life just because you feel like you're ready. And those are really, you know what I mean? Those are really fragile topics to touch, but we need to touch them. We need to expose them because both are right. You know, both sides are correct. And if we can find a way to have that compassion and that empathy when we interact with people like that, I think it will make our world, you know, a more kind place. Indeed. So for me, I related to Raffi in the way that, well, I guess as a person of color, walks this earth and finds herself in challenging situations daily. And how do you rise up? How do you keep rising up when situations come out? Because I have to. Because tomorrow's another day, because the sun comes up. Because John Lewis said, get in good trouble, get in necessary trouble. I'm going to do it, honey. I have to.
Listen, we got a collection plate somewhere around here. We will pass that.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, what I adore about the show is that it does approach that same conversation from multiple points of view. Obviously, with Elnor and his relationship with Picard, you are on that end of judging someone who seemingly left you behind, and that's brilliantly played out. So, in that regard, Evan, how do you relate to Elnor's character?
I don't know how to lie.
That's a good thing. No, that's a good thing.
I mean, pretty good thing. So I mean, there were a lot of similarities when I got the first script. You know, we're both. Well, I mean, he grew up in a sect of, you know, all females, and I've grown up in a household, you know, that's pretty much been run by like my mother and my older sisters. You know, he was in growing up. Grew up on a planet that wasn't home. My parents both immigrated over to Australia at young ages. So there are those the draw. The thing I love about the show is we all deal or have been affected by this major event that's happened, and it's all affected us in all these different ways. And I just love how the show showcases all of our, I think you said it, Michelle, trauma or, you know, like baggage. Hard into it. And, you know, the more time you spend with a character, the more you kind of grow to love them. And, you know, like start to really resonate with them. And hopefully, you know, Elnor continues to grow with me and I continue to grow with him.
Absolutely. Well said. As we are beginning to wrap up, obviously we as fans have an eye on season 2. Is there anything that you can tell us? I mean, I don't want it to be too spoiler. I know the Romulans have spies and assassins, so don't say anything that's going to get you taken out. That would really upset me. All due respect to Elnor. But, you know, what sort of things do you guys want to happen for your characters going forward? If you get to have your way, what do you want to have happen?
Well, for myself, I have to say, if, you know, for everybody, I'm assuming that you've all watched the whole series. And if you haven't, get to it.
That's right.
Get to it. The last bit we see is that this group, this motley crew, as we like to refer to us, are all together, and we take off into space. So personally, I would just love to see how this crazy group of people learn to function together, because we haven't really seen that until the last bit. And I think it would be really exciting to just see, who clashes with who gets along with who's got a crush on who or whatever. But I'm really just curious to see how this little group, this beautiful, perfectly imperfect motley crew, navigate the universe. I think that would be really cool. That's my thought.
That's awesome. Isa?
It's cool how the end really is so, it leaves it open to anything. I mean, at this point, we just kind of fly off into the sunset. And so it's really, it can go in any direction. But yeah, I do think that no matter what, I think we're going to see relationships developing even more, because I think that's the most exciting thing especially about Star Trek. What it's always done so well is developing these characters. It's so character driven, and seeing how these relationships form, and because it's all about humanity. I mean, about how we all coexist with each other, and so seeing exactly what Michelle said, seeing how we all interact with each other and become this funny little family is going to be really exciting.
That's amazing. Evan?
A few things, like Michelle and Isa said, I'd like to see, how this dynamic kind of works when, all the crew are together. But I'd also like to see more of the alum, make their appearances. I think I'd be really excited for that.
Thank you guys for joining us. This has been amazing. Again, I was already a fan. Now I'm even a bigger one. You guys are fantastic. Isa, Evan, Michelle, thank you for sharing your time, your talent, your experience with us. I'd like to thank our host, Reed Pop, for bringing us together for the Metaverse. Again, make sure you visit findthemetaverse.com for exclusive event pieces. So autographs, private video chats, all that fun stuff. I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, saying thank you to all the fans watching. You guys, pleasure. Oh my goodness. Yes. Live long and prosper.
Yes.
That is the way.
Yes.
100%.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.